TinkerCAD tips. In my last couple of tutorials, I had showed making some 3D objects that were multi-part, multicolor, but were meant to be printed on a multicolor printer like a Prusa or Bamboo Labs. In this particular tutorial, I'm going to show how to make something similar, but meant to be printed as two different parts for single color printers. For instance, we have this up here, and if we zoom way in here, you can see that there's a gap between the white lettering and the yellow part of the background, and this is separate. So I have this tolerance built in. Same with this down here, we have this butterfly, and if we zoom way in, there's a tolerance between the two, and if I lift this up, you can see where there's been an inset made into this part, so these could be printed separately and then glued together. So let's get started. So I started off over here in Google, and I was just searching for black and white clip art free, and I found this butterfly, and I chose this one specifically because I want to show you some techniques as to how to deal with these inside holes. And the same thing can happen in lettering, like the hole in an A or the letter D, for example. Now on this one here, if I do save image as, this happens to be WebP. It's not JPEG or PNG. So I have to do this a little bit differently. I'm going to right-click on this. I'm going to say Open Image in New Tab. And by holding Control and plus, I can increase the size of this. I'm going to use a clip tool here. And I'm going to outline my part. I'm going to select around it. There, I've grabbed it. I'm going to click Save. And we're going to call this, and I've got it saving as a PNG. We're going to call that Butterfly PNG. We'll replace that one. There we go. We can close this. Now we need to convert that. So I always come over here to convertio.co. Let's say Convert More Files. I'm going to choose my file. There's my butterfly PNG. I'm going to select that I want that to become, let's see, an image here, SVG. I'm going to click on Convert. And when it's done, I'm going to download it to Butterfly SVG. All right, let's go back to TinkerCAD, and let's start by doing an import. Let's bring that butterfly in. There's my butterfly SVG. Let's open on that. Now, it's important in this particular tutorial that we always want to leave this as artboard, not arc. This is pretty large. I'm going to scale this down to 200 wide. Click on Import. And there's what our imported object now looks like. I'm going to make this yellow for a moment just to make it easier to see. And as always, we always want to change the quality of this to its maximum, which is 24. Now we're going to be using this both for the solid, the printed part, but we're also going to be using it to manufacture the hole that we're going to put in our background. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to lift this up. I'm going to do a duplicate here. I'm going to hit D to drop that to the work plane. And for the time being, I'm going to select on this one, and I'm going to hit Control H to hide it. Now, what we have to do with this image is to put an outside edge on this that will increase the size of this by, let's say, 0.5 millimeters. We'll use that for the tolerance for the remainder of this tutorial. Now, I know some of you are going to say, well, why can't you just take this and make it bigger? It doesn't work that way. It doesn't scale proportionately. So it has to be done this way. So the first thing we're going to do is we have this selected. I'm going to make a duplicate of that. Now I'm working with the duplicate here. The quality is 24. For the sake of visibility, I'm going to change that to green. And I'm going to come down here. I'm going to say outer line, round, and we want to change the line width to 0.5. And if we look there, we can now see where a band has been put all the way around our object. Note, there's nothing on the inside of this. Now, I've also learned through experience that if I just use these two, merge them together and make them a whole, that sometimes there's a gap in between this solid part and this outer outline that we put on it. So what I always like to do is to select on that outer outline that we just created. I'm going to hit duplicate again. I'm going to go ahead and change the color of this. Oh, let's just make it, let's say this dark blue here. And I'm going to change that to be an inner line, round, and I'm going to make that 1.5 millimeters. Okay, we've got a good start here. We've got our original part. We've got the outer outline, which is going to create the margin. We've got this blue part to fix the gap that sometimes appears. Now we have to address these hollow spaces in here. So this is the technique that I've developed for that. I'm going to grab all of this. I'm going to raise this up. Okay, now I'm going to take this yellow part. I'm going to make a duplicate of that. I'm going to drop it down. Now we've got that duplicate selected. I'm going to change that to be silhouette. And you now see that that's a solid part. Okay. Then I'm going to select these three up here. I'm going to duplicate that again. I'm going to change them into a whole shape. I'm going to drop those down. And I'm going to reach in here and raise it up just a little bit. Now I'm going to come from the side and I'm going to select all four of those, the three whole shapes and then the solid silhouette, and I'm going to group those together. Once it's resolved, we're left with this. Now note, what we need to do here is change this to an SVG. If you look here, this no longer is an SVG. We don't have those parameters, so we can't do inner and outer outlines. So now that we have these holes as a separate shape, we're going to bring these down a little bit. We're going to make sure that they're on the work plane. And while we have them selected, I'm going to export them as an SVG, and then we're going to re-import them. Okay, here's my save to. We're going to call this two-part butterfly SVG 1. Save that. Now we're going to import that in again. We're going to leave all the parameters the same. For the time being, we can go ahead and slide this up out of the way. All right, there's our imported SVG. We don't much care about the color for the time being. So what we're going to do with this, now remember, up on this top one here, we want to create more of a tolerance on the insides of these. So for these, that means we want to do an inside line. So I'm going to change the quality, always increase that to 24. I'm going to change that to inner line, round, and again, our tolerance is 0.5. That will look like this. And while we have that selected, I'm going to do the same thing like I did before. I'm going to select on this. I'm going to make a duplicate of it. I'm going to make it outer line of 1. And just to show you the differences here, let's change that to yet a different color. All right, we're at the end of part 1 here. Like, follow, and share. Come back for part 2.